sitting U.S. president has just told the world that he is winning a war while missiles are still in the air.
I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our...
Tonight, we are not here to tell you what to think. We are here to inform you of the facts, the statements made, and the gaps in knowledge. Because amid a conflict that is reshaping the Middle East, distorting global markets, and claiming lives on multiple fronts, the gulf between presidential claims and verified reality has never been more significant. For 32 days, the United States military has been conducting strikes inside Iran. Not sanctions, not diplomacy, airstrikes on one of the most heavily armed and strategically positioned nations in the Middle East. Tonight, for the first time since the operation began, President Donald Trump addressed the American people, and by extension, the world, in a televised speech from the White House. The speech lasted approximately 20 minutes. During this time, Trump made several significant claims, issued at least one direct threat, and provided a timeline for the next steps. Trump's central message was one of declared momentum. He informed Americans that U.S. military objectives in Iran were nearing completion, praised the performance of the U.S. armed forces, and claimed that the operation had been so powerful and brilliant that one of the most powerful countries in the region had been eviscerated. However, alongside this claim of imminent victory came a significant caveat. Trump announced that the United States would continue to strike Iran hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Among the targets he referenced were power plants and key infrastructure. Regarding Iran's leadership, Trump stated that regime change was never an official goal, but then observed that the original leadership has been eliminated and that regime change has effectively occurred as a result of the strikes. Regarding oil, Trump stated that the United States no longer needs energy from West Asia and urged nations that depend on shipments through the Strait of Hormuz to protect the waterway themselves. He predicted that the strait would open up naturally as Iran sought to sell oil in order to rebuild. To illustrate the speed of this operation, Trump compared it to every major U.S. military engagement of the last century. World War I lasted 1 year and 7 months. World War II, 3 years and 8 months. The Korean War, 3 years. The Vietnam War, nearly 20 years. And the Iraq War, almost 9 years. He argued that, in just 32 days, the United States achieved against Iran what took years, sometimes decades, in previous conflicts. It is a striking comparison. However, it is also one that carries significant risk because historical records show that declarations of swift victory have preceded some of America's longest and most costly military commitments. Those watching tonight would do well to remember that the words "mission accomplished" were spoken more than 2 decades ago, and the conflict they referenced continued for years afterwards. Trump delivered this speech at a politically challenging time. Recent polls show that his overall approval rating has fallen below 40%, with disapproval reaching the mid-50s. Opposition to the war is coming not only from political opponents, but also from within his own Republican Party. His administration responded with full support. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the speech as powerful, stating that the president's leadership sends a clear message that the United States will defend its interests and uphold peace through strength. The response from the opposition was sharply different. The Senate Minority Leader called the address the most rambling, disjointed, and pathetic presidential war speech he had ever heard. He argued that the administration had failed to define clear objectives, damaged relationships with key allies, and remained focused on foreign military action while domestic economic pressures continued to mount. He stated plainly that Trump was completely unfit to serve as commander-in-chief. These two dramatically different interpretations of the same 20-minute speech reflect the political environment in which this war is being fought. To provide some context for tonight's address, we spoke to Dr. Reza Khan Sadeghi, an adjunct professor of political science and Middle Eastern Islamic studies at George Mason University in Washington, D.C. He focuses on a key question. Is the administration's messaging a deliberate strategy or an indication of an absence of strategy? Dr. Sadeghi argues that it may be both simultaneously. He points to a clear pattern throughout this conflict. Deadlines are set for 2 to 3 weeks, and when that window closes, a new one opens. Objectives shift. Regime change is demanded, then retracted. Unconditional surrender is demanded one day, then the language softens the next. He believes that this deliberate ambiguity serves a purpose. It keeps adversaries, allies, and the domestic audience perpetually uncertain about what comes next. Critically, it also keeps an exit open. By setting flexible timelines and shifting goalposts, the administration can construct a narrative of success at a time of its choosing, declaring victory, pointing to destroyed military infrastructure, and withdrawing from the conflict on its own terms. The question that analysts like Dr. Sadeghi are watching most closely is whether, when it comes, that exit will reflect reality on the ground or simply a political calculation. While Trump was speaking, the situation in the region continued to escalate. Israel's military reported a third Iranian missile strike in just over 3 hours, timed in the hours immediately following Trump's address. Air defense systems were activated, and sirens were heard across northern Israel. A reminder that this conflict extends well beyond a bilateral exchange between Washington and Tehran. The Iranian embassy in India posted a direct message on social media for Indian nationals inside Iran. "Our Indian friends are in safe hands. No worries." An explicit diplomatic signal that a major country's citizens would not be caught in the crossfire. The impact on global markets was immediate. India's Sensex dropped by more than 1,450 points and the Nifty fell by around 2%, breaching key support levels. Investors viewed the conflict as a sustained risk to energy supply chains and global economic stability, rather than a contained regional crisis. Beyond the war, several other stories demand attention tonight. A 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of Indonesia, causing a building to collapse in North Sulawesi and killing at least one person. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which had initially issued an alert, has since confirmed that the threat has passed. In Brooklyn, New York, a 7-month-old baby was fatally shot by a stray bullet when a man on a moped opened fire on a group of people on the pavement. The baby was in a pushchair. Meanwhile, on the Greek island of Kos, the skies turned a deep orange as Saharan dust swept in from Africa, reducing visibility sharply and forcing incoming flights to divert to alternative airports. In China, meanwhile, the technology sector has posted its worst quarter in 3 years, with earnings falling sharply across major companies. Analysts are warning that the road to recovery will be slow and complicated by both domestic headwinds and mounting global trade pressures. Tonight, the U.S. president informed the world that a war had almost been won, while also issuing new threats of strikes. Meanwhile, missiles landed in Israel, global markets fell, and his own approval ratings continued to slip. The facts are not always comfortable. They do not always point in one direction. They rarely arrive neatly packaged inside a 20-minute White House address. Our job is to stick with the facts, wherever they may lead. We will continue to track every development in this conflict and around the world.